All right, welcome in. Hoist the Colors, the podcast, the Bucks on the Pond podcast is back. The people are so fired up. We got our first comment before we even went live. Chuck wants to know, anybody home? Yeah, Chuck, we're home. We've been talking ECU baseball all day long. I've been texting these guys since 6:30 a.m. about East Carolina baseball. We had Cliff Godwin at 10 a.m. on 94.3 The Game. Check that interview out YouTube. We had Carter Cunningham, Justin Wilcoxon on 94.3 The Game in studio recapping the Keith LeClaire Classic. We had the coaches show tonight. We talked to Cliff Godwin, Wyatt Lunsford-Shinkman, Zach Root, Trey Savage. It's been a day of ECU baseball talk, and that's why I'm bringing on these two gentlemen, Scott Lorbatcher, Jonathan Wagner. They're going to do a lot of talking here. Notice I'm on bottom for now. I may have some fun if you're watching the stream, switching things around a little bit. Things may get a little crazy. We'll just have to see how it goes over the next hour. But mixed result weekend, we'll talk about that quite a bit over the next hour. As always, questions, comments, drop them, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We'll get to them. All right, guys, welcome. I guess we'll go overall thoughts on the week that was. We'll start with Scott. What do you make of it?
I mean, it's hard not to be disappointed in a 2-2 week. I think we all thought this week would be kind of a bit of a resurgence after last week. Was a really tough week, and then this week seemed to set up a little bit better for us. But 2-2 could be worse. I mean, we didn't move in the polls. Some of that is what happened behind us. Some of that is I still don't think that D1 always watches our games. Kind of evidenced by they didn't talk about us at all on the podcast last week after we had a top 15 matchup, which seemed odd, but disappointing to lose on Tuesday in what was a good game, and then a Sunday game that was kind of a letdown after winning on Friday and Saturday, especially in the way that they won on Saturday. I think if we win on Sunday, we're here talking about how great of a week it was with that 11-inning game and really solid pitching performances on Friday and Saturday. But instead, we're a little disappointed, but could be worse.
Yeah, no losing weeks yet and no losing weekends, obviously. But it's just when you lose that midweek game, Wags, I don't know, it creates pressure, I would say, going into the weekend because it's like, man, we got to sweep now to either hold in the polls or hold RPI, and that'll certainly be that way in conference play. So 2 straight midweek losses, 2 straight 2-2 weeks as a result of that, despite some pretty good weekend play. So your thoughts on the week that was as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think just starting off with the midweek, it kind of felt like a glimpse back into last year. We know how much that this team struggled midweeks last year, and we saw what it cost them at the end with not hosting a regional. So it was very frustrating from that standpoint. And it was just one of those games where nothing seemed to go right, and then when it did start to go right, something else fell off, and it just didn't all come together when it needed to. And then you come into the weekend, and the first 2 weekends before, we saw pretty much vintage Trey Savage, vintage Zach Root, vintage Jake Hunter, and you got that from Savage and Root again, but you didn't get that from Winter, and the bullpen struggled again. So I think coming out of this weekend, there's a lot more concerns than there was last weekend and then the weekend before that. But it's frustrating for sure, but there's a lot of baseball left to go. The season's not over because you're 7-4. You've touched on this on every show you've done today, but this is how this team starts a lot of the time. And we've seen time and time before that just because you start 7-4 doesn't mean you're not going to end up hosting a regional at the end of the year. So a lot of baseball left, but there are a lot of things that this team needs to figure out. And I think that they need to do it on sooner rather than later.
All right. We're taking your questions, comments, and concerns. I didn't even realize this. JPN 1212 says a shame Trey Savage didn't win Pitcher of the Week in the conference. So I just looked it up. Wichita State, Caden Favors did throw a complete game shutout in an 8-0 win over Utah Tech. What the hell was a Utah Tech is my question.
Dixie State, I think, is their
Come on,
their
bro.
old name. I think they have like a 280 RPI or something like that. It's pretty bad.
Utah Tech 1-9 this year, 13-39. So look, I get it. You know, throwing a complete game shutout against anybody is difficult. Even if the three of us formed a team off the street, we could probably get as many hits as Utah Tech, but I get it why I got it. But Trey Savage and Zach Root deserved it as well, just based off the fact they were facing a team with a pulse and dominated. And again, guys, we'll get into the relief pitching. I get it. We'll have plenty of discussion about that. But people keep going back to, hey, are you worried? I am not worried because of the upside of this team. And there's a lot of things that have to come together around that. But when you have Trey Savage and Zach Root leading the way, I just feel like the sky's the limit if it all comes together, if they stay healthy. And, you know, they're pitching even better than I expected at this point, Scott. They have just been dominant.
Yeah, I mean, through 9 starts on the weekend, our starting pitching has had 8 very good starts. Obviously, Sunday wasn't maybe what you want, but you have such a good 1-2 punch in your Savage and Root that you saw it. I mean, we used 2 bullpen pitchers on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday it was a letdown, but we had everybody available. So as the year goes on and guys that we expect to perform that haven't, as they're available and have not pitched on the weekend because you pitched so well on Friday and Saturday, that's going to be a benefit. It's hard to say that when it wasn't this Sunday, but going forward, it's going to get better, and we know it will.
Wags, what has been the most impressive thing about Savage and Root to you through 3 weekends?
It's just they go out there and they control the game. Even, you know, in Carolina when Savage was pitching in Chapel Hill and, you know, we had those 2 misplayed balls in the outfield, you know, it didn't phase Trey. I said it last week, but it was a big league pitcher and a big league response from Trey Savage, and he's going to be pitching in the big leagues one day. So he showed that. And it's just no matter what, even if they give up a leadoff single, give up a leadoff walk, they always come back. And they don't let it phase them. Mentally, I think they're very strong. They're a lot stronger than they were when they got here. And, man, I mean, they both just have so many good pitches, and they know it. And I think their confidence is very apparent on the mound, whether it's Trey on Friday, whether it's Zach on Saturday, whether it's the first inning against a big-name opponent like UNC, whether it's a nobody like who the hell knows on a Sunday, or they're not pitching on Sundays, but point stands. So their confidence is seeping through, and I think it's very illustrated, and I think the team feeds off of that as well.
So I was talking to a former ECU pitcher in the stands on, I think, Saturday, because Root was pitching, and he just said, look, he's not surprised at all by what Root and really Savage have done because they do believe they're dudes, going back to what you were saying, Wags, like, they pitch with that confidence, and obviously if you throw 96 miles per hour, like, you're going to pitch with some confidence. But still, we've seen plenty of guys come through that just don't pitch like they know they can go out there and dominate. And I feel like Savage and Root right now, even when Root gave up the home run, the thing I liked about it the most is he didn't let it rattle him at all. He just came back, kept firing bullets, and in a low-scoring game, kept doing his thing. And so I feel like that mentality jump has been crucial for each guy. And, you know, at this point, we're kind of waiting for the rest of the staff to some degree to embody that as well. We'll get more into the bullpen again here shortly. All right. Adam McMunn says, more surprising, ECU's bullpen struggles or the polls not lowering ECU's ranking after a 2-2 week. So I know each of you guys, expected ECU to fall at least a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So what's more surprising? I guess it's got to be the bullpen struggles. I don't know. What's more surprising? I guess it's a good question, Adam, but we'll go to Scott first.
Yeah, I would say probably the bullpen struggles. Had Duke and Virginia not lost to kind of bad teams this weekend, and I would put Alabama in that same category, not to a bad team, but they lost to Dallas Baptist on Sunday. If they go undefeated, I think they jump us. I think if Duke or Virginia go undefeated this weekend, I think they jump us. I thought they still would, based off of the other 10 games they played. But so I was not shocked that we didn't drop, but a little surprised. Whereas I don't think we thought we would see Danny Bill struggle this bad. I don't think we thought we'd see Winter or Richie have 10-plus ERAs. it is a bit surprising. I thought Winter looked way better on Sunday, but because he does have stuff to get people out. So does Danny Beal. Richie has a great curveball. I think he needs to develop another pitch that he can throw consistently for strikes. So really, it's not just the bullpen struggles; it's the bullpen struggle to throw strikes in even when they are ahead in the count. You saw guys get ahead 0-2, 1-2, especially on Sunday, and then all of a sudden they hit a guy, or it's 3-2, and now the pressure shifts from the batter to the pitcher, especially with the bases loaded. So that our inability to throw strikes after getting 2 strikes has been the most surprising thing to me for the whole season.
Wags, what do you got here as far as more surprising?
Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised by ECU not dropping in the polls for all those reasons Scott said. But I think he's right. If those teams go undefeated, I think they definitely do jump ECU. But they didn't, not complaining about it. But I am surprised by that. But I do think the bullpen struggles are more surprising. And to me, it's because coming into the year, if you would have told me that ECU's bullpen is struggling, it would have been because the starters weren't going as deep into games as they should. But they are. Trey Savage is going 6, 7, 8 innings every game, and so is Zach Root. Jake Hunter has been going 5, 6 his first 2 starts until this weekend. But up until that, your starters have been doing exactly what you need them to. I don't think the guys have been taxed on weekends. Midweeks, that's a different story, but midweeks are midweeks. Bullpen days are going to tax you a little bit. But it's just, like Scott said, the struggles, and it's the kind of self-presented errors with bases loaded and you walk in 2 guys, you hit another guy, and then you have a wild pitch, and boom, you score 4 runs in an inning. It's that kind of stuff that we didn't see as much last year, I don't think, and it's from those guys like Danny Beal. And he struggled. He'll get it back on track. I'm not worried about him. But, yeah, I just do think it's, like Scott said, it's forcing yourselves into errors, and it's, again, they're not being taxed on weekends. They're not having to come out and throw 6, 7 innings of a bullpen day on a Friday or Saturday. So that's what's surprising to me.
Could it be that the bullpen isn't getting enough work? I'm just throwing out ideas here. Like, just because the starters are going so deep, or is it just they're just not performing? I don't know. I mean, and too, like, it's early in the season, so where like things are magnified. It's like if this rough patch from Danny Beal comes after he's already had 10 scoreless appearances, like, we're not maybe freaking out as much. I don't know. What do y'all think there? Is it just the fact that it's early March? It's March 4th, and we just need to be patient to see how it plays out. Obviously, got to come together sooner rather than later, ideally. But I don't know. Could guys not be just getting enough work in the right roles in certain cases?
I mean that's true, and I do think a lot of it. And Coach Godwin, he harps on this a lot, but a lot of people just look at the stats, they look at the numbers, and they see a 10+ ERA from Danny Beal. And yes, he struggled, but like you said, if Danny Beal maybe had a couple weeks of a 1.5 ERA coming into this, and that kind of evened out to that 5-6 range, it doesn't look nearly as bad on paper. And I think a lot of people do overreact to that, and that's not minimizing that he has struggled, because he has. I'm not making excuses for it, but I think that matters too. A lot of people box score read and do that, and I think that's something that a lot of people do, especially this time of the year. So, but man, that's an interesting question, because last year it was all, man, we got to get our starters into a good role, and we got to figure that out to fix the bullpen because we're overusing them, and we were using the same 3 guys over and over. And now it feels like we have more options in the bullpen, and for whatever reason, they just haven't found that right role. So it's an interesting mix, but no, I'm never going to say I think we need to see the bullpen work more, because once you get to, game 50, then you're going to be really regretting that if you're talking about that in a third weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's obviously with the 5-game week, assuming Wednesday is played, they'll get plenty of work this week, one would assume. Yeah, it's just interesting. I think there are some guys that maybe we haven't seen as much as I thought we'd see that I still expect to play bigger roles. What do you think, Scott, just as far as the elephant in the room, Chuck says, is the relief pitching? Now, you're wearing the bullpen shirt, so you're the effective elephant here. Not taking a shot at you calling you an elephant, but in terms of addressing it head on, cool shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
For those watching the stream, what do you think about the bullpen that we haven't already said, or if you want to expand upon anything we have said?
So I'll address the elephant comment first. I'm down like 15 pounds this year, so joke's on you guys.
Okay, what
Um,
diet?
But no, I think if you look at this weekend, especially even on Sunday, it was only Richie and Bill that gave up runs, right? So it's not as devastating as it might seem. I thought Growler looked good. I think we'll see more of him. There's still guys that haven't really had an opportunity yet that I think we'll see more of in the future. Drew Bryan, for example. I saw somebody mention Colby Wallace. I think if he can develop a second pitch, we'll see more of him. I know Cliff mentioned that in one of the interviews today was he was working with Austin Knight on working on like a cutter slider type thing. So if he can develop a second pitch, maybe he comes out as a guy that is effective later in the season. And then the guys that are struggling with guys that have been here, and I just think that sometimes when you've been in a program like this that's really good, you have all of this pressure on you to succeed. It's difficult to get it going early on because you're putting even more pressure on yourself. I think you see some of that with Starling, where he's put so much pressure on himself. I thought we saw it with Will Coxon on the offensive side of the ball, where they've got all of this pressure so early in the year. And to be honest with you, I'd rather them go ahead and get that pressure off of themselves now than 2 months from now when the pressure is real and it's real for everyone.
Yeah, those are fair points, and Coach Galvin's talked about that as well. He's had to pull some guys aside and just say, hey, man, you don't have to do anything. And Will Coxon said today, and I'm sure this is mentality in a lot of cases, but he's like, I'm just going to go. Look, I'm a catcher. My job is to help out the pitching staff. I'm going to worry about that first, and then the offense will come. And, I think that's maybe freed his mind a little bit. Obviously, 2-homer day Sunday was good to see. JPN 1212 says a win on Sunday probably puts the RPI around 12. Instead, mid-30s. I mean, I guess you'd rather be at 12 than mid-30s right now. Every win matters, but I don't really pay attention to the RPI till late March. I mean, it's just so fluctuating right now. Scott, how much do you pay attention to it at this time? I know you're tracking it, so it's fluctuating a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of these numbers this week. Liberty went up 96 spots. They went 1-3. Memphis dropped 56 spots. They went 3-2. Tulane went up 43. Rice went down 99. It's all over the place right now. That's kind of why we track it this early in the season, because it helps elucidate how volatile it is, right? Like it's shooting all over the place. You look at a lot of the Big Ten teams have high RPIs right now because they haven't played at home yet. UConn, Boston College, kind of similar situations. I think Rutgers is like 2 in the RPI. I don't think Rutgers is the second best team in the country.
Big Ten baseball, baby.
Maybe they are. I don't know. The fighting Todd Frazier's of Rutgers. So RPI is important. Give it 25 games before you really start to value its meaning. And as you see, like, yes, a win puts us at 12, but winning or losing to Southeastern Louisiana doesn't make you 18 spots better or worse as a team. But it does in RPI because it's too early to really be focused on it. But I do like to look at it, especially week to week on, right now the American has 4 teams in the top 100. That's great. Hopefully we can keep it that way. Maybe get a few more, but I don't put a ton of stock into it until we get to conference play at least.
We were speculating which Big Ten team would replace Indiana in the top 10 or the top 25. Excuse me. No team from the Big Ten guys is ranked after this weekend. How disappointed are you guys? I know you are huge Big Ten baseball fans.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't find someone. Purdue coming in, win 2 games in the Keith LeClaire Classic, or who the heck else? Rutgers, but UC Irvine is the team that replaced them, and they, I believe, sit number 5 in RPI on Walter Nolan, and they're 8-0. They're a top 25 team. I think they're pretty good, but I think that just shows you again that RPI it's too early because UC Irvine will not finish with the number 5 RPI this season. just because they play in the Big West. So it's early, like Scott said.
And I think, too, as far as the polls,
but I'm not about no Big Ten team.
East Carolina, with the series win over North Carolina and UNC pounded Princeton right this weekend, so I feel like that probably kept them steady more than anything. You still have a top 16 series win. That's going to hold some weight as long as the Pirates don't have any really bad weeks. All right. Jonathan Woodall says Jaden Winter actually looked pretty good yesterday. Yeah, Cliff Godwin said on 94.3 The Game that he had some personal stuff going on. They kind of talked it out, and hopefully that helps him. But he kind of – I thought, he was up to 93. He got – he threw strikes. And at the end of the day, if you throw strikes, as simple as it sounds, guys, you look a lot better. It's amazing what happens when you just throw strike one and then get ahead of guys, finish them. So, big development there. I thought he attacked hitters. I think he's got stuff that will play if he can get ahead. All right, Irving Bennett says, are midweek games just harder to win now for everyone, or has it just been a weird 2 years here? I just think it's the area, guys. Like, every team you play is good, right? What do you think, Wax?
Yeah, for sure. And, whether it's midweek or I think I touched on this earlier, but just general kind of road struggles, I think has been a little bit of a trend with this team the last couple of years. And, maybe that's a little bit concerning. But, yeah, I do think, we've talked a lot this season on this show about, the desire to add more quality weekends against some of these in-state foes. But right now, that's not a reality. And that's because they're on the midweeks. And when you're facing Campbell, you're facing even an Old Dominion, on the road. They're not what they were a few years ago, but that's still a quality team usually. And you're going to have NC State down the road. You're going to have Campbell again down the road your last midweek. It doesn't end. And VCU 2 games this upcoming week. Midweeks are just – they're tough, and it's tough because I do think another thing we've talked about is the pitching is they end up being bullpen days. And – this week we'll have Chris Kaler starting on Tuesday. I'm hoping he can give you 5 or so. We kind of set the tone. Assuming you play Wednesday, if the weather holds up, then you need someone else to come in and give you a good day on Wednesday. So I think that just the weekends matter the most. And I think we come back to this conversation about RPI and what matters. And we talked about it last week a lot, but I think that shows itself every week when you put everything towards the weekend because that's what matters the most. The midweeks matter. Yes, they do. But in the end, the weekends matter more, and teams aren't going to, kill themselves on the midweek if it comes at the expense of the weekend. So I think that's a big factor too. But in general, I want to see this team prove me wrong. And because I do think they're not good away from home, whether it's a neutral site somewhere, whether it's a regional on the road, or whether it's a AAC play on the road at UTSA, whatever it is. I want them to come out. I want them to go sweep it. I want them to prove me wrong because right now I do think they struggle on the road.
0-3 in true road games thus far this season. Last year they went 12-11, but I remember that being a big knock on them until I think they swept a couple of late series, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Yeah, they swept Cincinnati, swept South Florida, which kind of saved their road record, guys. So we'll get into this week, Scott, but that is, that's something the committee looks at. Usually you want to be at least 500 or above on the road.
Yeah, and our conference play will help with that. I mean, you look at the teams we've lost to, right? Campbell is a top 25 team on the road. We lost to UNC on the road. They're a top 15 team or 16 team now. And then I think Old Dominion, the way they played so far, they look like a potential at-large type team. They took a series at they were at home, but they took a series against Charlotte, who is 6-6, but I think they played really good team so far. I think we've talked about scheduling a lot, and I think maybe it is time to kind of reevaluate what we do early in the year. I know we like going to Campbell that first Tuesday of the year. I mean, that's a really tough game. I want to play them, and I think we should play them. I don't know that doing it your first Tuesday is necessarily the best for that series. One, just let the weather get warmer so that when we go, we don't sit in the stands shivering. But you look at the teams around us; they're all very good. UNCW is a good program. ODU, Campbell. Elon in the past, they're not this year. It doesn't seem like they're very good. But there are other options that don't force us to go on the road, where we maybe would play these types of teams like A&T. We would play them at home, but not in Greensboro. Uh, Maybe we do mix one of those in, or maybe a couple, and then take out the Columbia series, right? That we typically do the second kind of 200-ish RPI weekend, and replace that with not a LeClaire Classic, but like a similar setup with maybe you bring in two teams like Campbell and then ODU, and you play 4 games over a weekend and skip a midweek. That's an option too. So I think there's always some reevaluation that can be done within the schedule to get more creative with it. I personally would love to see ECU travel to one of these like Round Rock, Frisco type things where you play 3 really good teams over a weekend, far away from home. I think that's good for team bonding, especially early in the year. So uh, the games that we have lost so far they don't give me a lot of heartburn. They've been on the road against really good teams that'll make the tournament. Now VCU, I think they're 8-2, so maybe they've played some tough opponents, but I would be surprised if we lost on Tuesday, and it would stress me more than any other game that we've lost so far.
Yeah, I think you start losing home, home games, period. Obviously, the Southeastern Louisiana game was disappointing, but you're still 6-1 at home. But definitely the vast majority of those you need to win starting Tuesday, just because it dings you so much in the RPI when you do lose teams at home. All right, Buck Wild _ ECU. I'm guessing this isn't the real Buck Wild. BUC Wild on Hoist the Colors. He says, break the season down into 11 game segments, go 8-3 5 times. That's a 41 season. So 7-4 isn't panic time. Yeah, I ran the numbers earlier, but ECU the last 5 years of a full season, 8-3, 6-5, 9-2, 7-4, 8-3. Each of those years they hosted 4 of the years. They were national seed the year they went 6-5. Obviously, that took a massive win streak, but still, they were a 2 seed last year at 8-3. So it's too early is the bottom line. I mean, does it lessen the margin for error? Sure, to a degree, but I think it's fine. I think now that we're into March, it starts to feel more real, and usually Cliff's teams play better. All right. Leighton says, is Carter Cunningham playing himself into a first-round pick? I mean, Carter is 23. He's a senior. He's having a great year, but he's not going to have much draft. What's the word I'm looking for? Bargaining power, leverage. There you go. Now, could he be a pick based on how he's playing and a team looking to save money on a cheap senior? This is how the draft is done. Basically, it's all about leverage. Certainly, but Carter Cunningham, guys, is right now he's a beast. And it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of coming at the perfect time for this lineup too, because not everyone is hitting their stride. We talked about, a guy like Justin Wilcoxon struggling, and, he had down in the 8-hole on Sunday. He finally broke through with 2 homers, and, it was a good day. It was a welcome sight for him too. But, I think outside of your 1 through 5 in the lineup, Dixon Williams, he's playing a lot better than his average shows as well. I think he's hit a lot of balls hard, and Cliff Godwin alluded to that earlier today. But, after you get that, you're still looking for answers, I think, in every spot, 6 through 9 in the order, whether that's left field, whether that's third base, or not third base because Dixon's there, but DH, shortstop, and all those spots. I think you're still trying to find the right mix. But just knowing that you have a guy like Carter Cunningham in the 2-hole, love him in the 2-hole. He's killing the ball right now. It's like a beach ball to him, and it's just going where he wants it to. And you have Starling, who's, I think, played better over the last week and a half in the 3-hole. And then Jacob Jenkins Cowart looks like Jacob Jenkins Cowart again, which is nice to see in the cleanup spot. So, again, it's early, and I think Dixon Williams, his average is going to rise, and that'll help lengthen the lineup too. And other guys are going to step up. We saw Colby Wallace step up this weekend, and this week we're going to see more guys step up. But having Carter there as a reliable middle of the order guy, early in the order guy, wherever you want him, he can do it. And he's versatile offensively, defensively. So MVP of the season so far, for sure.
All right, Cameron Yarborough says, with how bad the AAC is in baseball, we have to win as many midweek games as we can if we want to host. He adds, yes, if we want to host. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but yeah, the midweek games are important, and ECU's got to perform better in the midweek games going forward. But we're not panicking, correct?
Correct.
Although I can see Scott's finger. It's like it's getting closer and closer. He hasn't pushed it yet.
Hovering.
He's hovering. His hand is off the desk.
In-game Scott has hit the panic button at least 10 times. Day after the game has ended, Scott has not yet pressed the button.
I still want to do that article where I share anonymous texts I get during games. It'd be fun to see if they could guess which one was Scott/us or me. Who knows what stuff I send during the game. All right. Buck Wild says that exchange with Root and that base runner on first with one out in the seventh to pick him off and then get the strikeout was beyond special. What did it take? Like 4 pickoff moves? But the guy wasn't even going. He just got straight picked off. Like, that was pretty cool. Root's got a really good move. I still don't know, like, what's a balk and what isn't with a lefty.
Neither do the teams because they complain about it, the opposing dugout, every single pickoff attempt.
Yeah. And I don't blame him. I think it's a balk every time. It doesn't look right. But, hey, it works. Chuck says, who goes into this year's draft? Yes, Savage, of course. Who else? God. All right, yes, Savage.
JC.
Obviously, Wilcoxon, that catcher's gone. He graduates. Cunningham at first graduates. Starlin graduates. Barini, he's a senior, correct? He's gone. Dixon's not draft eligible yet. Jenkins Cowart will be drafted. Riley Johnson's gone. He's a senior. Left field, you've got Nowak. I don't think he's going to get drafted. Who am I missing? Obviously, a Savage. Root's got another year.
Bill's a senior.
Wyatt Shinkman could get drafted. I'm just going off the top of my head here. I don't have a roster. Taylor's a senior. Hunter's a junior. He could. Yeah. I mean, he could conceivably get drafted. So you're going to lose a lot. But Drew Bryan, Chris Kaler's a senior. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to lose a lot. I do think there's a lot of young talent on this team that's not necessarily playing huge roles. That will be fine, and it's a good incoming class. But they'll certainly have to get some transfers to fill some holes. But, yeah, we'll get into that discussion another time after the season. All right. Watch out for Colby Wallace. He's going to end up pitching, and that guy is legit, says Buck Wild. Yeah, Cliff has mentioned he may see the mound. All right, you're a hometown guy, Wag, so talk about your boy Colby Wallace.
Buck Wild here, he might be giving us a tease of my bold prediction at the end of the show. But, Colby Wallace, I was going to bring him up at some point today because, again, I'm a Pinecrest guy. Colby Wallace is a Pinecrest guy, and I think it was nice to see him step in. I was with some family this weekend, so I spent most of my watching on my phone. But I was on my way back from the Canes game on Saturday, and we were heading to Hillsboro, and I was on the road. And my dad, he was like, oh, Colby Wallace is playing today. And I'm like, all right, you should look again because that's definitely Cal State Fullerton's Colby Wallace. So I got tricked by that yesterday. Someone pulled a trick on me because I've been calling for it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not falling for this again. He's like, no, Jeff Hewitt, Pinecrest head coach, he just put it on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, shoot. I'm like, let's go, finally. And, it was nice to see. And then he came through, and he didn't just get 3 hits, but he got 3 big hits. He got hits when he needed him to. He's a right-handed bat. He looked like he belonged, not just approach, but physically. He's got a good frame, and I think he can play third base as well, so it gives you options there. But, man, Colby Wallace he showed that he needs more opportunities moving forward. And maybe he's that right-handed bench bat that comes in late in games and pinch hits for whoever in the bottom of the order if they're not hitting. Or just situational. We do that all the time. So having options is always good. having quality options is always better. And I think Colby Wallace is a quality option, and that's just offensively. And I do think we're going to see more of him on the mound as well, because he put up godly numbers at Pinecrest in 3 years on the mound too. I think he had a sub 1.10 ERA. So he can pitch too. And I think we're going to see that before too long.
All right, let's get into the discussion about Joey Barini, who will not be available in the next few games. Cliff Godwin said tonight that he has a wrist injury. I can't remember what the exact injury is off the top of my head. So either way, he had to get a shot in his wrist and actually aggravated it further in the short term. Should be better long term. So he's going to take a few days off. He's obviously been struggling. No extra base hits on the year. He's grinding it out. He's doing what he can. But shortstop the next few days, it sounds like will be Nathan Crispin. And Cliff also said they could potentially slide Dixon Williams over to shortstop, give Colby Wallace a look at third base. So, Scott, your initial reaction when you hear that, at least Barini missing a few games, how that could impact the lineup?
Well, you hate to lose senior leadership for sure, but give somebody an opportunity to step up. Think about Brady for Bledsoe, Garrett for Pip situations, right? Guys that got an opportunity and never gave it away. So maybe this is the chance for Colby Wallace to do that. Maybe it's a chance for somebody else to step into that role and just get a hold on it and not give it away. You got at least 4 games this week to do it, I would say. I don't think we'll see Barini at all this week. So at least 4, maybe 5, depending on the weather on Wednesday. So, we talk about the bullpen. That 6 to 9 spot in the batting order is kind of like the bullpen of the batting order. So somebody's got to step up in the bullpen. Somebody's got to step up in the bottom of the order and start getting on base. Tom Brady was drafted by the Montreal Expos, so he's a baseball guy. Fun fact for you. The Expos have drafted more Super Bowl winning quarterbacks than the Denver Broncos.
Dang.
Wow.
So
Eagles had a long day.
Wait. So the Broncos didn't draft Elway, correct?
No.
Gosh.
The
it
Royals
still
did.
counts.
Eagles catching strays out here.
I know.
It's been a long day.
I did
Skull
ask you
Pirate.
how much of this podcast we were going to spend on Russell Wilson, but
0. I'm done. Let's go home, Russ. Skull Pirate says we're comparing the team to Brady now. This podcast is wild for our audio audience. That's what the Brady reference was in. He also wants to know, should I return my Omaha tickets? How much did you spend on said Omaha tickets? That's the real question. Can you already get Omaha tickets? Is that a thing? I mean, I guess so.
I think they do pre-sale because I'm on the NCAA baseball email list. Not that I've ever done it, but just from regional tickets, I think. And I don't know, maybe you can, but I've never thought that far ahead. Maybe I should. Maybe that's the problem.
All right, a win in Florida is this person's name. Keith LeClaire Classic must have counted as neutral. Anyone know? It counts as a home game for East Carolina. So that's what it is. We got Case and Rameli in the comments trolling. We'll get to that question in a little bit, maybe.
Did we not block him after the
Yeah, Carolina curveball with the worst possible power rankings in the history of life.
It's disrespectful.
Dropped ECU 6 spots from like 3 to 9. ECU is 1 spot ahead of Wofford. The Carolinas. Are we serious, Carolina curveball? Seriously, though, go follow Carolina curveball. They're doing great work. Kaysen did say he is just one member of a he's just one member of a committee of 6 guys, I think, and 2 of them are UNC grads, 3 are ECU, and 1 represents something else. But yeah, you can't have ECU behind North Carolina. What are we doing? I mean, North Carolina lost the series on a neutral series. So, Skull Pirate, let him hear it. Kaysen says, thoughts on Alec Makarovich, ACC Player of the Week. What do y'all think?
Well, I was at the game on Sunday, so I will tell you this: they pronounced his name 3 different ways in a single inning at one point. So that was kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting the ball really well. I will say, I do think his swing looks better right now than it did at any point last year. And I know he's banged up a bit last year, so that may be a part of it. I will also say that NC State has not played anybody that could really beat them to this point outside of VCU. So I feel like there are times when guys really beat up on kind of bad teams. And Alex Makarevich, he's one of those guys. I mean, he hit well off good teams as well at times, but he certainly hit well off of bad teams. And he's really tearing the cover off the ball against guys throwing 89 to 91.
First off, good for AMAC. Former Pirate, never had a problem with him personally. So, certainly good for him. But yeah, I mean, you look at state schedule, VCU, which is more known for its offense than pitching. Hawaii, I can't imagine the Rainbow Warriors are out there rolling out aces left and right. Judging by these scores, 7-5, 10-8, 17-12. They were not lighting it up on the radar gun. Queens, we all know Daniel Bagwell graduated last year, so certainly they don't have another ace. And then Towson. So, I mean, come on. They haven't played a single soul. And they already canceled their Tuesday game.
Threat of rain.
I mean, what are we doing? All right.
They all have the flu, actually.
Yeah, but did we really believe that they just played like 24 hours ago and seemed just fine?
Didn't see a single cough or sneeze in that dugout on Sunday.
Scott was watching. All right, let me see. I'm scrolling back through these comments, making sure I didn't miss anything because we got way off track for a while. Adam McMahon says ECU had a 63.5% strike percentage pitch on Sunday. Any idea what this is in relation to a typical ECU pitch game? Seems like a lot of balls thrown. Do y'all track strike percentage pitched? And all I know is that it was less than normal.
Yeah, I would say 75% is probably, without knowing that information off the top of my head, but I would say 75% would be at least where you would want to be.
At least 70, yes. 70, 75.
Because you think in a 3-2 count, that's worse than that particular number. So I don't know. Maybe
But there's not a lot of 3-2 counts, and there's a lot of foul balls. So,
that's true.
I would think you would want to be at least upper 60s, 70% minimum.
Especially on Sunday.
Yeah.
You're playing the team that you should be able to kind of overpower a bit. I think you got to get it to at least 70% on Sundays. And really just any Sunday, throwing strikes is so important because we're going to score runs on Sunday. So if you can limit walks and turn those 4-run innings into 2-run innings or 1-run innings, you're going to win a lot more games than if you just let them. I mean, we gave away so many runs on Sunday. It's super frustrating to lose in that fashion.
5 walks, 2 hit by pitches and some wild pitches, along with Southeastern Louisiana, who walked 1. And they were just like, hey, ECU's hitting the ball, so what? They're going to have to hit their way back into this, which I respect. They had dudes out there throwing like 70-mile-an-hour curveballs. Their starter threw a 69-mile-an-hour curve. Nice. A couple times. So, yeah. But, hey, give the Lions credit. They're a solid team. All right, Johnny Robertson, shout out to Ryan McChrystal, who is the only catcher to throw out Vance Honeycutt during a still attempt this season. Honeycutt is 8 for 8 against everyone else. No other opponent has even tried to steal a base when Ryan is behind the plate. As always, Johnny bringing the stats, and probably a lot of that is due to Zach Root as well. Helps he's catching that elite pickoff move. All right, let's see here. Hope Riley Johnson is okay. Sounds like he should be fine. He's just going to have to deal with that shoulder popping in and out, or shoulders all year. But he's having a good start to the season, guys. I think he's kind of been offensively a pretty pleasant surprise at this point. What do y'all think about Riley and kind of how he's performed early on?
Yeah, I think he's had a good year, both offensively and defensively. And, I'm someone I've battled shoulder dislocations, and I think similar to what Riley's going through, not full dislocations, subluxations is what I had, which is partial dislocation, goes right back in. I've had that in both of my shoulders, so I know somewhat what he's going through. And I know it's not easy to swing a bat. So the fact that he's able to do that and, leap over a wall and to try to make a catch, I think that's where it kind of knocked him this weekend. And you could tell the rest of that game, I was watching just on TV, and he would walk, he would get on base, he would steal a base, he's standing on second, and he's kind of just shaking out his arm, trying to stretch it back out and make it feel all right. And then, he's kind of hunched over there for a while. He was in a pretty obvious pain, I think. But, Cliff talks a lot about the strength staff, and they're pretty much full time. And with Riley, they're doing a lot of work to where he's able to play. And again, it's not easy to play through a shoulder injury, let alone both shoulders having problems. So props to him for doing that. And I think he's been a pretty steady presence at the top of the lineup too. I don't know his average off the top of my head. I'm not looking at the stat sheet, but
349.
Yeah, that'll do for a leadoff guy. And, even when he's not getting hits, he's working counts, or he's putting pressure on defenses with his speed. He's putting balls on the ground, or he's showing off his pop. He's sent a couple balls, deep to the track, and he's a very versatile all-around type of leadoff guy. So keeping him healthy will be key. But, it wouldn't surprise me, this week if he gets a day, and depending on how he's feeling. But hopefully he stays healthy. But he's been a very, very good presence at the top of the lineup, and it's well-deserved too because he works his butt off.
Yeah, I'll give you an MLB comp that I have for him in my mind. And this may be before Wag's time, but it reminds me a lot of Ryan Friel. Just a guy who just sacrifices his body, does things the right way, can hit line drives, has like surprising power at times, and just such an asset to have a guy that if your teammate is going to give his all, give his body, it makes you want to do those same things too.
Speaking of overcoming injury, Adam wants to know, what was the ump doing on that slide in the home plate on Saturday? He wasn't even looking at home plate. So I only got one quick look at the replay. All I noticed was the umpire just kneeing Dixon Williams right in the face, trying to get out of the way. Was he truly not looking at home plate?
No, and I think if you ever do the article with the text, what the F was that umpire doing text would have definitely made it. But, I mean, he was just staring down the right field line, not really towards anything at all. And, I mean, Dixon slid head first into his knee, and he turned, like, right at the last second. And I think him trying to move made it worse than
100%
than what it was. But maybe that's why we couldn't get strike three calls on Sunday as we took the umpire out on Saturday.
That guy sucked. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal was with that. I mean, just a terrible job of being in position. I mean, I don't really know what else to add. I'm not an umpire. I'm sure it's tough when things are moving 100 miles an hour, but you just can't let that happen. You could have ended the kid's season. I mean, it's honestly, you could have broken an orbital bone or something. So, gotta be better, umpire. Jake Hunter shouldn't have gotten pulled that early on Saturday, is what Nick says. Put too much pressure on the pin. What do we think, guys? I mean, honestly, I didn't hate it. You had a fresh pin. Maybe would have liked to see him go a little longer, but Southeastern Louisiana was hitting the ball hard. They were on the fastball early, so I didn't hate the move. If the bullpen goes in and delivers, it's not criticized as much. But, I mean, that's the thing about baseball, guys. You can always second-guess every pitching change, lineup change, pinch hitter, all that. So it's just part of baseball.
Yeah, I also didn't hate it. And I think, like you said, the bullpen was fresh. I mean, coming into Sunday, the bullpen had thrown a combined 5 innings, and 4 of them came from Wyatt Lunsford-Chinkman. The other was Jake DiLorenzo. So, yeah, I didn't hate it. If he didn't have it, he didn't have it, and I don't think he had it. And that happens. He was really good to start the year, the first couple of starts, and he just wasn't at his best on Sunday. And I think better to get him out, get some other guys, see if maybe they can. And they went to their guys. They went to Eric Ritchie first, and he struggled again. And then you went to Danny Beal, who also struggled. But, I mean, Danny Beal, I'm sure they went to him in that moment thinking, he's going to take you the rest of the way, hopefully. But, he struggled once he got into his I think he went to a third inning of work.
It has happened again. It appeared we couldn't make it through another show.
It's a weekly technical difficulty segment.
It's only a matter of time until I can't hear you guys again. All right. Wags is frozen. If you're watching. All right, I got to get back on track here. If you're watching our live feed, Wags is frozen in the upper left-hand corner.
I have to keep my eyes I need to block that out.
All right, I got to take him off the screen. I'm gonna kick from studio and make him re-enter. Wags just texted me a cuss word I can't repeat. All right. James Malice says, thoughts on Riley Johnson 3 weeks into the year. James, we just answered that. Where have you been? Where you been, James? I know you're a big Riley Johnson fan. Casey Ramaley has told me as much. Skull says, is it too much to ask the podcast participants to wear ECU gear one time? Skull, I got an ECU logo on, bro. You got to talk to this guy. This guy over here. What are you doing, Scott?
I have skulls and stuff behind me. I mean, there's all sorts of ECU stuff.
Okay. Hey, you know, we're all repping in our own way. I think the pin shirt is better, honestly.
I wanted to represent our elephant in the room.
You are indeed the elephant. All right.
Hey.
There he is.
Back on
Mr.
the
We're going to start calling you Frozen.
I don't know what it is. I work from home, and I am on my computer every hour of the day. And it's not until 9:50. It was about the same time last week that my computer just decides that it's tired of looking at Scott and Steven, and it wants to disconnect from the internet. And off I go, and I'm probably staring at the camera looking like an idiot. And you got.
It was great. It was a great picture. Oh no! It happened again.
You get to take it go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It almost happened again. You froze up for a second.
Hey, Crush Vodka, now you know at 9:50 on Sunday nights on most weeks, you can sponsor a segment. It's when Wag's internet gets crushed by Crush Vodka. And
everything else is fine. It's my phone's fine. My iPad's fine on TV. Man, I quit.
Wags has that dial-up internet. All right, let's see. We got to make our predictions here shortly, trying to make sure we didn't miss any questions. Skull Pirate throwing everything. He wants to know why Wilson Rayner is allowed to umpire ECU games. Wilson Rayner did play football at ECU, and he's an umpire. I feel like you got some guys that do these non-conference games with ECU ties that almost I don't know if Wilson does this or not, but it almost feels like they overcompensate for being an ECU guy. And, like, we'll call it even tighter because they don't want to show favoritism. That's just something I've noticed. I'm not saying Wilson does that, but there are other guys that's what fans speculate. So, I don't know. I mean, that is I guess ECU hires or is responsible for hiring the non-conference home games, just like other teams are allowed to do that. So, I don't make the umpire rules. Let's go ahead.
Pirate. Let's get Joe West.
That is true. He's retired now. He can probably do some college games. Okay. Jay Billis is the perfect example of overcompensating. I guess he's saying for Duke, he just makes points against Duke. He always picks against Duke, he says. Okay. All right. Let's have a Skull Pirate session. I have a job with MLB that wants me to be in Durham on weekends. Is that dangerous? You're closer to Durham, right, Scott?
I was there on Saturday.
Did you get shot at?
I did not. I had a great day at the North Carolina Museum of Life and Science. I will tell you the area around the Durham Bulls baseball stadium now is fantastic. It has a ton of great restaurants, a ton of apartments that are very nice. I think Durham is really, especially that area of Durham around the DBAP is in the American Tobacco Complex has become incredible for that area. So we go down there for some Bulls games. We're at the Museum of Life and Science probably once a weekend. We got members. Shout out to us for doing that. So I love Durham.
Pretty pissed they got rid of the Little Dipper fondue place downtown Durham. I don't know if y'all ever ate there, but that was Erica and I's spot, and they got rid of it, of course. They still have one in Wilmington. Do we support MLB Raleigh or MLB Charlotte? I think the guy that runs MLB Raleigh is delusional. I do not support him because I don't want any team to interfere with my love for the Seattle Mariners. And I don't know. What do y'all think about MLB Raleigh or MLB Charlotte?
I'm going to start this off by saying, I don't know the city of Charlotte well enough to know logistically how it would work, and that maybe that's where my mind instantly goes. But it'd be cool to have a team. But yeah, I'm a Nats fan first, so that's always going to happen. But it would be cool to have a team close. But logistically, I just don't know where you make it work in Raleigh. And I'm newer to the area, I know, but I think Charlotte makes more sense logistically. And again, I'm saying that knowing nothing about Charlotte and just saying that from a Raleigh standpoint. I think it'd be a nightmare just traffic-wise and trying to build a stadium and making it work. But I've been wrong a lot of times before, so who knows? But it would be nice to have Major League Baseball in this area, and I think it would do really well too.
Yeah, I think you could almost go Greensboro and split the difference. It's like an hour and a half each way. Or, obviously I'd love it for a team in Raleigh, somewhere I could go on the weekends or on a weeknight with my buddies. A reason to give up on the Reds, who have only let me down for 36 years. And Charlotte, they have football, they have basketball. Give us baseball and hockey in Wake County. I don't know. I think Cary could probably do it. The tendency now, I think, is downtown stadiums, which would be very difficult in Raleigh. I don't know that there's enough area where they have that they could just get rid of enough stuff and handle traffic. The fairgrounds is already a nightmare, and that's just for corn dogs and cotton candy. So I would love it. I just don't see it anytime soon. I do have a friend that is a mutual friend with the guy who runs MLB Raleigh. Super nice guy. So I don't know that he's delusional. I think he just really wants baseball here. So it's got to go somewhere, right?
Yeah. Come on, Skull. Quit ripping people. Follow Carolina curveball, and
you can rip them. You can rip Carolina curveball.
That is true. They deserve it. The Charlotte Chanticleers? Hell no. Get out of here, Skull.
Ugh.
The Carolina curveballs.
I think Kaysen has trademark on that.
That is true.
Let's make Kaysen a rich man. The Carolina curveballs.
Skull wants to know what was Igo's degree in GPA in college. Communications degree, minor in business administration, and I think like a 3.3 or something. Nothing special. Pretty average. I had easy classes. Now I struggled, and I was a exercise physiology major. Chemistry, it killed me, bro. I was so bad. So I switched majors because Hoist the Colors was taking off, and everybody was like, "Why are you not doing communications?" Was Wags at the ECU game Sunday? Adam wants to know. He said he was at the Canes game Saturday, and they gave up 5 goals in the third period. Bad luck, Wags? ? What do you have to say for yourself, Wags?
I will start off by saying there is no denying that I am bad luck Wags, but I was not at the ECU game on Sunday. I was at my cousin's 1-year-old's birthday party, so I was watching on my phone, but I was not there in person. But I have been there for a lot of other games where I would qualify. But this time I am clear. But I was at that Canes game, and that no further comment.
How many Canes games have you been to this year? What's the record in those games?
Okay, so there's a stretch. I think I saw a win on December 19th against Vegas, one of the best teams in the league at the time. And I think the next game they won that I was at was a month and a half later on like January 28th. And I'm a half season ticket holder, so I was at about every other game. So I was 1-6 for a stretch there, but I'm 2-2 since then. So I've kind of turned the corner, but in the end, it's been really disappointing my first year having season tickets. So I do apologize. Bad luck Wags is, yeah. Now that I say it out loud, yeah, it fits.
Well, our boy Kason Romeli is 1-11 now, I think, in games covered away from home. So maybe I should quit sending him to cover road games. So
Hey, what
you
was
won
my
your first
record?
game, right?
Yeah, what was my record after my first my road game at Old Dominion?
At ODU, you were 1-0,
Want to know, baby?
and he retired on top. Brandon Carr wants to know, you got to be careful, bro. What am I being careful about, Brandon? Thanks for the show. Scott, that's a cool shirt. Wags, you got another Carolina shirt on, which I love, and hope to see you on Franklin Street again this Saturday night. Are y'all connected on Franklin Street? I can't speak. It's been a long day. Are y'all connected on Franklin Street after the latest UNC win this weekend?
No, I will not be there. Again, not a Carolina fan. I'm an ECU fan. ECU is one, and this is a Carolina Hurricanes shirt. I do not own a University of North Carolina shirt or any gear at all. So, no, I will not be seeing you on Franklin Street, but I do appreciate the love for the Hurricanes shirt because go Canes. Trade deadline Friday.
I thought it was an NC State baseball shirt.
I wouldn't have the balls show up.
They've co-opted the Hurricanes gear this year.
They really have.
Oh God! Can you get a Makaravich Hurricanes NC State shirt?
Can I get him to sign it too?
Skull wants to know, did I go out in downtown Greenville in college? I wonder if we ever danced near each other. What a question. Yeah, I've been downtown a few times. So I was in the same. So I went to college from 2010 to 2014. I did have a girlfriend most of college, my ex-girlfriend. So I didn't go downtown a ton, but obviously I went to 519 a lot. Fifth Street Distillery was a place to be. Halfway House, which has since been, I think, renamed something else, Raptors maybe. But yeah, downtown Greenville has seen a few IGO appearances. What about you guys? How many trips did y'all make downtown back in the day?
I have definitely danced near Skull Pirate at rehab.
You say that so proudly.
Skull Pirate and I used to go out to rehab
We
every
used to
Friday.
dance with each other.
But we would have been graduated and gone by the time that I showed up. So, yeah.
Hey, I was
19 rehab, 4th Street, 5th Street.
4th Street was a good one.
Yeah. A lot of places with sticky floors.
Yeah, too many sticky floors. Skull says, I've seen Scott dance many times. Wags, he used to rip it up all over downtown Greenville. Dude, you couldn't keep him couldn't keep him out of the streets, man.
Yeah, you know me, Yeah, I wasn't a big downtown guy, but I did go a couple times. But
he was more of an uptown guy.
Yeah, we're just gonna say that I was too dedicated to hoist colors. I was covering baseball full time my senior year since I wasn't really taking classes. I was taking classes, but half of it was the internship. So I just put all my effort into baseball.
Don't let him fool you guys. He was down. I saw him many a time. Downtown, that's still life.
Oh, Rumors. That was the place that we went. Yeah. Okay. That's going back.
All right. Hoist the Colors meet up in downtown when ECU makes Omaha. In downtown Omaha, yeah, because we're gonna be in Omaha. We're not meet. I ain't meeting in downtown Greenville when ECU's in Omaha. I can tell you that.
We're doing a podcast from Omaha.
When ECU, yes, we're doing a podcast from Omaha. If ECU clinches at home that night, we're all going to 519. The entire podcast. I don't care, Wags. If you're in Raleigh, Scott, you're coming. We're all going. All right.
Me and
Last
Scott
time I was there, I saw Zach Slate and Darius Morrow. So
519, you will see somebody you know. I guarantee it. I don't care where you're from. You will see somebody you know. It happens every single time. I saw an ECU coach there after they hung 70 on North Carolina, like 2 hours after the game. And it was like the best night of both of our lives, probably. Great day. And he probably shouldn't have been at the bar, but whatever. You hung 70 on UNC. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. All right, we'll go forever. We got to get out of here. It's long. It's been a long day. Somebody did ask, why don't we do this on Monday night? Wouldn't the podcast be more informed having the results of the polls the next day? I mean, I think Sunday nights, honestly, our numbers are better, just judging by the numbers early on. And I think you get that honest more. The advantage of doing it Monday night is you do get the polls, but Sunday you get the more raw reaction. And it works better for our schedule. And we changed it to Monday night because Wags and I had a fantasy draft. So we're going to go Sunday nights, barring something unforeseen. We did do Monday nights last year, but you can always catch the podcast version. All right. We always do our predictions, bold predictions. 2 for 2, guys. Y'all have some catching up to do. Shout out Zach Root. Again, I've gone back-to-back weeks. Zach Root. Last week I went 6 innings, 10 Ks. He goes 7 career-high 10 Ks on the dot. And swing and a miss from both of you guys. What do you have to say for yourself? Nothing.
I'm not surprised. Do you remember my bold predictions back when we did a weekly previews for football?
They were terrible.
Not surprised. I like to go bold, though. Bold predictions is meant to be bold.
That is true. I mean, Zach Root's 7 Ks was his previous career high.
Oh, yours was definitely bold.
What if I go Zach Root 3 times in a row? We'll have to find out. All right, let's go. Again, we all did 4-0 last week as our prediction. We were way off that. We're all terrible. So let's try to make up for that. There is a 5-game week scheduled. We will see if all 5 games are played. We'll just predict as if they will. Obviously, I'll tell you what, let's make a prediction for 5-game week, and then if there's only one midweek game played. So we'll go both. Who wants to start it off?
I'll do it. I'll go 3 wins no matter what, either 3-1 or 3-2. I think our midweek struggles scare me a little bit, as well as our road struggles. And we have 2 midweeks and 3 road games, and I'd love to be proven wrong, but Sunday on the road after we're out of Savages and Roots to give us 7+ innings scares me a little bit, and then that second midweek, that Wednesday game is pretty troublesome as well. So I'll go 3-2 on 5 weeks and 3-1 if we only play 4 games.
Wags.
Yeah, Scott took what I was going to say, so I agree. I think if you play 5, you're going to go 3-2. You're going to split the midweeks and go 2-1 at Liberty. And I don't know. I think if you do that, it might be maybe the first game against VCU that you lose. Maybe you lose Tuesday instead of Wednesday. It's just maybe that's a little bold, but yeah, 3. I agree. 3 wins either way.
Bunch of non-believers. I'm going to go 4-0 if Wednesday is rained out. 4-1 if they play Tuesday, Wednesday. The only problem is I think it's hard to win five games in a week. Liberty guys I know they played well in the opener and then got beat by Coastal. I just don't know where Liberty is right now. ECU needs them to be good. I just don't know how good they are. They're solid. Certainly ECU's going to have to play well, but I just don't see Liberty matching Root and Savage. And then I think ECU finds a way Sunday. The problem is, obviously, it's tough to sweep a series on the road. So I'm going 4-1. I think they do drop a game. It's tough to go 5-0, but I think it'll be a good week for the Pirates either way. And I do think they win the series at the least at Liberty. All right, bold predictions. Let's go around the horn here. Skull says they might as well pitch Scott on Wednesday. Is your bold prediction, Scott, you will make an appearance Wednesday?
I will throw in a 48-mile-an-hour knuckleball that will get hit deep into Charles Boulevard. So my
that's your prediction?
Yeah. So the top 15 teams in the D1 poll, none of them have lost a weekend series to this point. So I'm going to go that a team inside the top 10, so we don't have anything to worry about, will lose a weekend series this week. Now, that may not seem like bold, but if you look at some of the McNeese states and Illinois states that these teams are playing, outside of Wake Forest, who gets Duke this week, not a lot of heavy hitters playing top 10 teams, but I think somebody slips up for the first time in the top 10 this week.
So Scott going off the ECU path, which is fair game, which is a completely fair game. He's done that in the past, so we'll see if that gets him back on track. Wags, what you got?
Yeah, we were texting about this earlier, and I'm putting my fate entirely in Cliff Godwin's hands. This past
Good
week.
luck.
It's not worked out well in the past.
This past week, we saw Colby Wallace, and yes, I'm going to my Pinecrest guy, but we saw him make his not his debut because he got napped out on opening night, but we saw his first career start, and he made the most of it. He kind of came in big fashion, and I think we're going to see the same thing this week, but on the mound. Especially if ECU plays 5 games, I think Colby Wallace will make his pitching debut at ECU, and I think he's going to play as well hitting-wise, but I think he's not only going to make his pitching debut, but it's going to come in some similar fashion to his first career start at the plate, and it's going to come in a big time, or he's going to just do well is what I'm saying. So I think Colby Wallace, ECU pitching debut.
Colby Wallace, ECU pitching debut and does well. Is the prediction correct? Okay.
Yep.
We'll have to all three weigh in on the judges.
The does well matters. Yes, that matters. That's part of the prediction.
All right. Again, I love going off the on the fly here. So I'm not going Zach Root again this week. I mean, I feel like that would be cheating to go 3 weeks in a row. I'm going to go Riley Johnson. He has hit 5 career home runs. I think he hits number 6 this week, but he's not only going to do that, guys. He is going to hit for the cycle this week. He's going to have a single, double, triple, and a homer over the course of the week. He's going to cycle his way to another I Go Bold prediction victory, and you guys can cash it now. Go ahead and take your checks to Vegas because you're going to be rich. All right, that's all I got. That's our bold prediction. Anything else, boys? Are we done?
I think we covered it.
I think we're all tired. I cannot talk any more baseball today. I'm done. And that'll do it. Appreciate Skull Pirate for leaving 15,000 comments. And also for the rest of you guys, great interaction as always. Appreciate y'all again. If you missed any of it, check out the podcast form. It'll be up shortly. And we will be back Sunday nights moving forward, 9 o'clock each Sunday night. Of course, that'll always be archived, YouTube, Facebook, podcast, etc. For Jonathan, for Scott, I am Steven. I think that's how it goes. This is Hoist the Colors, and we are out. We'll talk to you next time.